Hello, welcome to the Father Samba podcast. I'm Father Samba. I bring you the news and the tunes. Summertime is approaching. If you're in college, you're either in exams or finished exams or getting ready for exams. As we get into it, I'd like to tell you what there is to come. I've got story time, I get real, and I have a rant to give about Hollywood. But first, let's get into the news. Over 130 million Americans have received at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. Last time I told you I got the first dose. Later on this week, I will get the second one. Over 40% of the population has gotten one dose so far. Over a quarter have already been fully vaccinated. However, there is still a large percentage of people who say they will not get the vaccine. After drinking and smoking and drugs, they decided now's the time not to give in to peer pressure. Netflix has announced they will make a reality show about the Hype House, a group of young TikTok influencers. Hey, I've got a name for the show. Subscribe to Hulu. If you're a fan of my content, you might also want to check out the Michigan's Morning Coffee podcast. I co-hosted a few episodes, but more importantly, I edit them. If there are any problems you have with the way it sounds, take it up with me. I'm the guy in charge of that. By the time you're listening to this, the season finale would have already been up by now. I will send a link to that in the description. The main host, Tomas Scherdsma, is shipping out to boot camp with the Marines, meaning that there will be a short hiatus in the Michigan's Morning podcast. However, this will not affect my podcast. Part of the title of that is true. We did record it in Michigan, but we recorded it in the afternoon, and we never drank any coffee. To make up for that, I will tell you about the last cup of coffee I drank. I still had my instant coffee, but I was out of cream. My mom told me that some people would use butter instead. I tried it, and let me tell you, it tasted horrible. You might not have tasted raw sewage before, but now is your chance. Stick a pat of butter in your coffee and learn how the world can be a cruel place. Note to self, if you're out of cream, just buy more cream. But now that you've heard the news and the tunes, let's get ready for the laughs and the gaffs. If you've been with me since the first episode, you know how much I'm fascinated by dreams. I told you about how Kean Thompson came to my window dressed as Fat Albert, wrongfully assuming it was my birthday, and telling me to get some therapy. Call me Camus because I embrace the absurd once it reaches nighttime. Not to offend everyone in this good Christian institute, I'll tell you a story that you could tell your grandma. But first, some context. Long before Peter Jackson stretched one book into 3 movies, there was an animated movie of The Hobbit, made by Rankin Bass. The company that made all those weird Christmas movies. This one was shorter and easier to follow. Yet, in it, they had songs that were from the book. There was one song that played when they were getting kidnapped by the goblins. I don't know the words now, nor did I when I was asleep. So instead of a good work of Tolkien poetry, all that came into my head was, "Into the cave, what rhymes with cave?" Not only did I not get any of those words right, I couldn't even figure out one of the easiest words to rhyme. Anyone else would have thought something like, "Into the cave, Bilbo be brave." Even the less creative would have said something cheesy like, "Here comes a wave." But not me. I'm special. With the brain power of a jelly donut, I successfully rhymed cave with cave. And not even cleverly. I didn't have enough time to think of a good excuse, and I just went full-blown lazy. It may have been a cry for help, so I texted my dad about it later on. He was able to list off all of these rhymes from the top of his head. Crave, save, Dave. It's easy for him to do. He was awake at 10 o'clock at night, not asleep at 3 in the morning. This happened before quarantine, but we knew that there were starting to be some cases. With that said, my brain should have gotten worse since then. Don't worry, it gets stupider. I had this one dream where it was like the Fantastic Four, but it was done badly. Also known as the Fantastic Four. Everything seemed to be normal. Sue Storm could turn herself invisible, the Human Torch was still a flamer. Everything seemed to be normal, except Mr. Fantastic really hated when the Thing would pick something up because every time he did, his back would crack like a large set of knuckles cracking in unison. Eventually he got so fed up with it, he said, "That's okay, Rock Monster, you don't have to break this." There are so many problems with that went on. First of all, why is the Thing cracking his joints? He's made out of rocks, not arthritis medication. And even worse is how much Mr. Fantastic just got fed up with the sounds. The sound of cracking knuckles, it bothers me. And so does Mr. Fantastic, apparently. So much so that he doesn't even refer to his team member by his name, Rock Monster. It may not have been the absurdist work of not knowing what rhymes with cave, but it definitely showed who I really am, prejudiced against rock people. Another thing I worry about is smell. So I'll tell you, the only thing worse than smelling bad is when other people know you smell bad. Which is why this next dream I had really bothered me. For some reason, I had to do a performance for a show, and people kept bringing up how I smelled. Not just that it was bad, but they knew what I ate and what time I ate it. The main dream may have been about performing, but I can't get over the fact that people kept saying I had onion dinner. I don't understand this whole stigma behind having a dinner of onions. Maybe you don't believe me, but Shrek really made onions sound appetizing just the way he talked about them. Besides, they're healthy. They're a symbol of love. Wouldn't you show your true love how much you cared by getting them onion rings? Screw 24 karat, how about 24 onion? But back to the dream. People kept telling me, oh, you had onion dinner. Let me guess, you had onion dinner. What really bothers me is I want to know what it is. I want you to show me. How does eating an onion count as a meal plan, and why is everyone in my head so against it? But after being judged by the smelling socialites, I had a good show. But the thought of onion dinner still haunts me to this day. And worst of all, people think I'm crazy for hatching such a crazy idea for a dream. They ask me what onion dinner is, like I'm supposed to know. All I know is I had it, and it was putrid. Nobody could tell me what it really means. A psychiatrist would probably tell me something like I was in love with my DVD player as a kid or something. That means I'm stuck with some of the weirdest thoughts imaginable, and I can't tell anyone about these. So I guess it all goes back to that dream I had about Fat Albert. And as much as that dream haunts me, I never went to therapy. Hell, not even in my dreams. Until now, finally, I get some therapy. It starts with a longtime friend of mine telling me about a place to go to therapy right by my house. She must have known I needed it, so she visited my dreams, kind of like Fat Albert. But unlike Albert, she actually recommended a place. It was in the strip mall next to a Chinese restaurant. The store in real life sold candy and pinatas, which you can say is equally as important as going to therapy. Go inside the place. It is packed, and no one's wearing masks. Because I guess the pandemic is over in my dreams, but not my enduring mental health issues. And going to see a therapist is like getting your face painted at a carnival. You sit at a table with a bunch of other people, and you're all getting help at the same time. I like the idea of other people getting help, but can a guy get some privacy? And even worse, people kept walking in and out of the room, going up to my therapist and asking himself in the middle of the session. It sounded like this. Oh yes, you see, being picked last in gym, it made you feel like you lost power. What's that? I'll get to that. Oh yeah, what else? I get a lot of dreams about being rude to people, and many more about people being rude to me. But I never had a dream about a therapist just blowing me off. That is what you get from your manager at Denny's when you ask if you can substitute jelly for bacon grease. When you go to see a therapist, you have their attention undividedly. But instead, you're crouching in the seat, worried that someone you know will see you at a strip mall psychologist with a degree from a college that probably got promoted by Judge Judy. Sometimes I like to psychoanalyze my dreams, or as I like to call it, analyzing like a psycho. While many of my dreams are nonsensical, there may be a deeper meaning to it. I might not have watched a lot of Fat Albert as a kid, but my brain must have thought he was an important figure to tell me to see a therapist in the first place. My friend recommending me a therapist probably means she cares. Even if she doesn't know the best doctors in town, it's the thought that counts. She represents convenience, I guess, because it was right down the street from me. And having my session in front of others, it means I don't want to open myself up to others, especially strangers. And yet I'm worried to confront people I already know, as I hunched over and pretend I was dead every time someone walked into the room. But Sigmund Freud said it best. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. The dream was telling me I needed help. No matter whose help it was, I should seek it, because, I'm very, very disturbed. Growing up as a kid, my parents would sing us bedtime songs. We got the usual ones like the alphabet song and Twinkle Twinkle, but sometimes we had to mix things up. One time I asked my dad to sing something really ambitious, a mashup of both Twinkle Twinkle and the alphabet song. Yeah, and he sang it like A, B, C, D, little star, H-I-J-K, what you are. And I thought that was the most amazing thing ever. Scoot over, Wagner. My dad is one of the greats. There's one song that always got me excited for bedtime. It was one of the 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. You don't think about it as a kid, but it's a gruesome story. This poor mother is trying to get her 5 children to fall asleep, but here they are hurting themselves. And every time this happens, she calls the doctor. All the doctor says is just not to do it and charges her the copay. That's gotta be frustrating. But here's how my dad would sing it for us. 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. One fell off. Ah! And now he's dead. That's how he told us the song. You might call it too brutal or too dark, but we were laughing. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkeys jumping on the bed." Pretty standard stuff, right? I mean, you've got one monkey down, but let the others sleep. But wait. 4 little monkeys jumping on the bed. One fell off. Ah! And now she's dead. We believe in gender equality in the animal kingdom. Doesn't matter if you're male or female. If you're a monkey in the story, chances are you're not going to make it. But same as last time. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkeys jumping on the bed." 2 down, 3 to go. 3 little monkeys jumping on the bed. One fell off. Ah! And now he's dead. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkeys jumping on the bed." As long as Mom is paying, nothing new has to be said. Now we're over halfway done. 2 little monkeys jumping on the bed. One fell off. And now she's dead. Mama called the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkeys jumping on the bed." Notice we didn't use the doctor's pronouns. You can't expect gender norms to exist in the jungle. Monkeys throw poop. They don't uphold the patriarchy. But anyway, back to sleep. One more monkey. 1 little monkey jumping on the bed. One fell off. Fuck. And now they're dead. Non-binary monkeys are in fact valid. But please, no jumping on the bed. I can imagine it on Fox. Liberals ruin monkeys jumping on the bed. Of course, it'll be on Tucker Carlson. In fact, he was actually one of the few monkeys who survived the jumping incident of '78. But where was I? Oh yeah. Mom called the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkeys jumping on the bed!" The doctor is right, though. There weren't any more because they all died of horrible head traumas, right? Wrong. Who do you think called the doctor? Oh yeah. The mom doesn't seem to have learned the message. She cleaned the body what was her last monkey on the bed. What made them fall and bust her head? If it were something to which they would die, it might as well be worth a try. Mama Monkey's last one jumping on the bed. She fell off and broke her head. She stayed home and nursed it with whiskey on the rocks. The end. Now it's time for story time. Yeah, in case you want to hear a story, I've got a great one. When I was probably 10 years old, we had to move a piano. I was there, so was my sister and my grandpa and my dad. My mom's at work, so she wasn't there. The piano was a nasty shade of yellow and was nowhere near in tune. So, what did we have to do? Take it to the dump. It got loaded in my grandpa's truck. I got into his truck, my dad followed in his trunk, accompanied by my sister. The majority of the trip was just down one street for like 20 minutes. But 2/3 of the way, we took a rough turn, and the piano fell out of the truck. Oh, did I learn some new words that day. My grandpa stopped, and so did my dad. We got out to look at the damage. The piano was halfway in a ditch, but none of us wanted to load it back in. So rather than pulling it completely out, we pushed it completely in, and hoped no one noticed. Then we just turned around and went home. The grown-ups were pissed that the piano didn't make it to the dump. But you know what would make them happier? Not paying $30 to go to the dump. Of course, they can laugh about it now. Enough time has passed, so it's too late for anyone to dump a fine on us. And any time we had to move a piano after that, we're always reminded of that fateful day 10 years ago. Thus ends story time. Thank you. There really isn't a good holiday for lonely people. I mean, think about it. In addition to Valentine's, there are so many other holidays that only work if you're with someone. New Year's is welcome to the first kiss. Christmas has gifts. April 1st is pranking your boyfriend that you're pregnant. April 2nd is telling him you're serious. But what about single people? We don't really have a day. The most we get is St. Patrick's Day, because at least then no one judges us for the binge drinking. But if you couldn't tell, it's been a while since I've been in a relationship. I'll admit it, I'm sad and lonely. For a chunk of high school, I didn't really believe love existed. No bond is stronger than the bond between nihilism and being 17. I'll be the first to admit that I was a huge downer. Eeyore would have offered me some Prozac. You seem a little sad. Have some of my pills. But that's just how it feels if you have 2 years without finding a loving relationship. Physical touch is important for mental health, so not getting any for a while, it makes you feel kind of bitter. Couple that feeling with a pandemic. Years later, it seems like nothing ever gets better. Well, this killed the mood of the room. How about I use the words I taught when I was younger? Just try being happy. See, it doesn't work. Never does. That's one thing I go without hearing ever again. You know what else I hate hearing? I hate hearing other people complain about their problems with loneliness. You get it, you're sad. Don't get me wrong. I understand what you're going through. But I'm suffering from an inner monologue who's the point of view of someone who hates me and doesn't want me to succeed. Maybe one reason I can't latch onto the idea of empaths is that I always feel like they're asking for attention. You're trying to vent, all of a sudden they're telling you about how they feel. I care about how you feel, but can it wait? There certainly are those people who will monopolize the conversation. But at that point, I'd rather be by myself. One of the worst cycles you can have when you're feeling alone is to self-isolate. Some days I want to be left alone, and so help me God if someone is in the same room as me. This one time, I got home from work, and I wanted to wait until the kitchen was clear before I made myself dinner. Long story short, I waited for 2 whole hours before coming out of my room. You know, why eat if other people are going to find out? Jesus, this is why my dreams tell me to go to therapy. I'm sorry, that wasn't very funny. It just came from the heart. One thing I'd like to have on my show is a trademark segment. You know, Seth Meyers has a closer look, Bill Maher has a new rule, Stephen Colbert has being a hack. I've thought about it and I've decided on it. I'm going to offer you my honest God thoughts on a certain subject. I will speak on a lot of these things in a segment I call Here's the Thing. Let's talk about relationships. Thankfully, none of my own. I've never had a relationship go for over a year. But I have watched other people for quite some time, and let me tell you, some of you are very annoying people. I can already hear it. You only hate them because you're single. I am single. But here's the thing. Do people suddenly stop acting stupid once I'm dating someone? No! Call me a rep because I'm throwing down a flag on these annoying relationships. First of these complaints is concerning men. You might not have met one of them before, but they tend to have a little testosterone in them. Even if you bleed, that does not make you any less of a man. If you're a man, this concerns you too. Too many men, not all men, but I agree with it, it's not all men. But I know a lot of guys who, as soon as they're talking to a girl, they have to show me a picture to prove how hot she is. I know it's hard to find a girlfriend that is a boyfriend, but that doesn't mean you have to show her to me like a hunter shows his wild rhinoceros. Yeah, if you want to impress me, tell me what you two have in common. Bedroom activity does not count. Real things, things you can do with your clothes on, like discussing books and what have you. Don't worry, I'm also going to talk about the ladies! Sorry, I had to pull a little bit of a Bill Burr doing a Jerry Lewis. We're an equal opportunity show, and we like to make fun of everyone equally. Ladies, please, if you just start dating someone, don't tell them about getting married. 2 months in, you shouldn't talk about it. I'm not telling you what you should and shouldn't think, but as a guy, you should know we don't want to get married that soon. In fact, it's quite terrifying if you know anything about divorce court. Get to know a guy first, then you can talk about it. Most of us guys struggle to decide in dinner, let alone our future. Now that both genders have been taken care of, let's talk about what happens when Johnny Buttcrack and Susie Sour Patch get together. I don't care that you change your Facebook status to in a relationship. You changed it 5 times this summer, and I'll be damned if I see you change it again. Another thing I hate is when you make all these yucky, gushy posts about each other. We get it, you're in love. But can you put your little love parade somewhere where I can't read and lose my appetite toward? Seriously, I'm so lucky to call her mine for the past 3 months. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with her. I love you, babe. I've seen grown men post this before. You've got a salary, you live on your own. Don't make these juvenile posts like you're taking her to the junior prom. Ooh-wee. That's not to say you should never post about them. I'm just saying, for a little respect, and keep it to a minimum. You can spend the day stomping on caterpillars for all I care. Just don't caption it like, out on the town with my precious Ramalama Ding Dong. I hate when people do that. And none of that wifey crap. You're not married yet. What makes you think you two are on the verge of getting married? Oh, you fight over things that are meaningless? It doesn't count. And pet names. Oh, they're horrible. If you've got him on a leash, we might as well call him Fido. I think there might be only one thing worse than couples posting about each other. And that's when they don't, and one of them complains about it. Boyfriends should post about their girlfriends. I don't know. Maybe guys are allowed to have some independence on what they post. Do you ever think about that? If all of his Instagram pictures are from 2016, what makes you think he could break his streak? Even if he does, he'll take it down at the moment you break up. It sends a message. That being that you can never change him. Let's reel in. There might be another reason why he won't post a blurry selfie of you on Snapchat. He might be a douchebag, and you just happen to be the flavor of the month. That is something you can tell if you don't block him after breaking up. Yet you'll see him with all these girls, and it seems like you've met a couple of them. And speaking of breakups, maybe you shouldn't post a billion things that happens. I understand that you have these free-flowing thoughts in your head. But again, here's the thing. We're not therapists. Do we look licensed to give you advice? No, we're not. Why don't you talk to a real one and actually work on yourself? Here's another reason why you shouldn't post about breakups. But this mostly concerns the girls. All it takes is one tear-eyed picture. Your eyeliner is smeared a la raccoon, and you appear vulnerable. You might get some nice replies from the guys. While it means a lot to you, they have other things in their mind, so beware of the nice guys. A nice guy is a German phrase for bad times. No matter how badly you need the validation, don't make them think you want them. They say nice guys finish last. Nice guys not finish last. They do about a minute in. Now, what else happened this week that I did not mention in the news? The Academy Awards! And if you're an idiot, that means you probably watched it. Even if you missed it, you still had your picks of who would get the award. I can let you in on who the winners are. Nobody, not a single person won that night. They're losers. They're all losers. And if you watched it, you're a loser too. Here's why. Who actually watches new movies anymore? Not to be pretentious, but virtually none of those movies looked appealing to me. I think I saw maybe 2 movies from the past year. They were Borat and Wonder Woman 84. For Borat, I would say it covered a lot of things American politics had this year, from the pandemic to QAnon, to grabbing microphones in ways you probably shouldn't. The film was made very quickly, and it was able to adapt well, despite the many upsets over the year. And then we've got Wonder Woman 1984. I'll say this much, it looked really cool. Shooting a movie on film isn't done very often anymore, but I love it when they do. I don't know about you, but movies look too digital nowadays. So the extra grain, it makes it feel like humans are actually involved in making it. But what about the plot, you might ask? Well, let me tell you, Jack. I know it took place in the 80s, but there's no excuse for it to be like Indiana Jones. Think about it. Artifacts, adventure, Egypt. That sounds like something you'd have Harrison Ford or Angelina Jolie do. Nothing against Gal Gadot, but Wonder Woman is not meant to be Lara Croft. If you watch every movie that's up for an Oscar this year, you're also a loser. You know, not every movie deserved to get there. They're probably boring. Oh boy, you remade a movie, and it's better now because you've got a better cast. It's woke, and if you hate it, you're a bigot. I'm just kidding, that describes probably half of them at this point. And superhero movies. What, is no one else sick of them? With a title like Endgame, you'd think they'd be stopping pretty soon. Marvel needs to cut it out. I need to stop dropping my phone. Marvel needs to cut it out. Just because the Avengers destroyed cities doesn't mean you should. It's a movie. It's fiction. Don't try to recreate it. It couldn't happen in real life. And comedies aren't really a genre anymore, since every damn movie thinks it's funny. Humor is subjective, but these writers need to talk about some real people nowadays. Young people don't speak in hashtags, and some of your archetypes don't apply anymore. Nerds, stoners, jocks. Not everything's so black and white anymore. It's more complicated. And it seems like every teen drama, teacher sleeps with a student. They want us to think it's normal. Come on, man. That only happened one time in my school. Don't Stand So Close to Me is a song you rarely hear Sting perform. Even rarer is seeing it happen in real life. And when it happens, it shouldn't be glamorized. It's a crime. A horrible one at that. Can we not make crime look cute? Riverdale? Pretty Little Liars? Do those ring a bell? Stop it. Get some help. And despite all of these cliches, they have awards. Rich people dress up and get showered praise from other rich people. Those smug assholes pretend they care so much about the little causes, but I know damn well they don't know the names of their servants, their gardeners. Calling them the help is so demeaning. But we can forget all about that because they tweet something inspiring. And they give speeches. Yes, they give speeches. Apparently, we're all assholes, the normal people, because we don't live the lives they do. We can't afford to save the planet. My main source of income is stimulus checks and Denny's coupons. What makes you think I can eat organic? You want change? Go to the CAOs. As for me, I'll stick to shoving curly fries in my mouth and laughing at the names you give your children. I've devoted too much time totally crapping on these award shows. Let me take a stab at one. The Dummies. That's what I'll call it. This is how they present it. And the winner for the best screenplay goes to... Who gives a crap? You don't need these critics telling you if a movie's good. If it's good, you got recommended it by a friend. The movie doesn't have to be a masterpiece, but it has to be worth your time. If Rotten Tomatoes can give praise to a movie like Cuties, but then destroy a Dave Chappelle special, it makes you wonder, is there a bit of a narrative going on in their critiques? Answer is yes. Yes, there is. A movie doesn't have to be a masterpiece, but it has to be worth your time. Sometimes fart jokes are better than some boring movie about a lady who eats grapes. Let me tell you, those fart joke movies, they don't win awards. Not from the Academy, but the movie Full of Grapes won 20 because it makes you forget Meryl Streep is in her 70s. What happened to the good old days when people just retire? You've got all the money and power in the world. Why can't you just go away when nobody wants to look at you anymore? You could get away with murder because who would lock up the man in all the movies? See, no one would. You're fine. But no, they have to stick around. They want to act like everyone should be woke, like we haven't heard about what they did 40 years ago. I understand people can change, but a lot of these people won't get that. Their culture doesn't get it. We've got to persecute people here and now for the crimes that we got away with back then. Just because we got away with something back then doesn't mean you can't anymore. That's why I can never be for canceling people. You'll like crimes to be handled by the law. But if you're just saying words, then why should you lose everything? These consequences are like prison for a parking ticket. And with that rant, I must conclude this year's presentation of The Dummies. And if you see any famous person, leave them alone. Good night.